that is all the questions we've got for the Wildfire Druid. So shall we move on to the Circle of Stars?
Yeah, so the Circle of Stars allows a druid to actually drop their power from starlight, which is very exceptionally cool. So you've got this kind of this astronomer druid, but I could see you either flavoring this with some kind of heavenly power or also maybe something creepy, because there are many things in the stars. It's a nice opportunity. These druids have tracked heavenly patterns since time immemorial, discovering secrets hidden amid the constellations. By revealing and understanding these secrets, the Circle of Stars seeks to harness the power of the cosmos. Many druids that are of the circle keep records of constellations and star effects on the world. Some groups document these observations on megalithic sites. So, you can think of Stonehenge, you could think of the pyramids. When you serve as when you serve, which serve as libraries of this lore. These repositories might take the form of stone circles, pyramids, like I said, petroglyphs, underground temples, and the constellations are durable enough to protect the circle's sacred knowledge even against a great cataclysm. I really like the flavoring of this, because these are druids that kind of have a built-in, at least how this is described, you have a monument. You have things that you use to chart the stars. And I think that's very evocative right out of the gate for this, and kind of tells you who you are.
Especially with druids who have those ties to nature, to talk about using the stars not just for literal guidance, but figurative and magical guidance, and because you're going to get the guidance cantrip a little later. So this is something we've seen a bit in wizards being scholarly, in rangers who are trackers, and now in druids who just have that intrinsic tie to nature. And I think this makes a lot of sense.
So go ahead and run me through Star Map. This is the key feature.
Yeah, so like the Wildfire Druid, we're going to talk about a thing that you get to do, and then it's going to just get more powerful the further along you go. So you've created a star chart as part of your heavenly studies. It is a tiny object that can serve as a spellcasting focus for your druid spells. You determine its form by rolling on the star map table or by choosing one. While holding this map, you get the guidance cantrip. You have Guiding Bolt prepared. It counts as a druid spell for you, and you can cast Guiding Bolt without expending a spell slot. You can do so a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Guiding Bolt is awesome. If you lose them, yeah,
it's one of the most effective spells, and it's only second level at that.
and it scales up really well. It does a lot of damage, and it does radiant damage, which is something not a lot of creatures are resistant to. In fact, a lot of creatures take extra damage from, and you give advantage to the next attack against it. Guiding Bolt is an amazing spell.
And you're effectively getting this before you would get it. So
yeah, and you can do it without expending a spell slot, so it's amazing. If you lose the map, you can perform a 1-hour ceremony to magically create a replacement. The ceremony can be performed during a short or long rest, and it destroys the previous map, which is also really nice, because this kind of assuages the fear of, I've lost my map and now I can't do stuff. Someone's taken it from me and is going to learn all my secrets. So because this is a magical creation, I don't think it breaks anything. And then we've got the actual star map chart of a D6 that you can pick from for stuff, which I think gives you a nice selection of ideas to choose from. But once again, it says it can look like anything you want, as long as it's tiny. So have fun making stuff that goes along with your flavor of Circle of Stars. I do find it interesting that it does talk about a speckled owlbear hide there in number 3, because, all right, you're all about the druidic nature, except for that one owlbear. Well, one owlbear, that hide is mine. Yeah.
It doesn't, nothing saying that druids necessarily protect everyone in the forest.
That's
So,
absolutely true, but I still find it funny. And then what else do you get for your second level?
so at second level we have Starry Form. As a bonus action, you can expend one use of your Wild Shape feature. Again, we're seeing this multiple uses for Wild Shape to take on a Starry Form rather than transforming into a beast. While you're in this Starry Form, you retain your game statistics, but your body becomes luminous. Your joints glimmer like stars, and glowing lines connect them like a star chart. This form sheds bright light within a 10-foot radius, dim light for an additional 10 feet. This form will last for 10 minutes. It ends early if you want to, or if you're incapacitated. Whenever you assume that your starry form, you choose one of the following constellations glimmering on your body, and it gives you a certain array of abilities. So we've got the Archer, which is one of them. And you get this constellation of an archer appears on you when you activate this form. And as a bonus action, on your subsequent turns while it lasts, you can make a ranged spell attack, hurling a luminous arrow that targets one creature within 60 feet of you. On a hit, that attack deals radiant damage, 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. This is very interesting because this is a bonus action. This is not taking away from your other spell effects. So if you're guiding bolt and now you're doing this archer ability, you're just pew pew pew. You're the pew 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 druid, just lighting up the area. If you choose the chalice, a constellation of life-giving goblet appears on you whenever you cast a spell using a spell slot that restores hit points to a creature. You or another creature within 30 feet can regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. This is really nice. You can like buff, you can get a little bit, you can get some healing for yourself or someone else. Just a nice little boost. And then finally we have the dragon. So a constellation of a wise dragon appears on you when you make an intelligence or wisdom check or a constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on a spell. You can treat that roll, if it's 9 or lower, you can treat a roll of 9 or lower on that d20 as a 10. So this is kind of like the rogue ability. We've seen this also with the very eloquent bard, where you cannot fail, kind of. You can get into a not fail kind of situation really quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, reliable talent is amazing. And druids have so many constitution saving throws that they have to do because they have so many concentration spells that getting to the point in where not having to worry about failing on those saves is really powerful. And yeah, the fact that you get to pick which one of these you want to do right at the beginning when you cast this, when you invoke this, is also super powerful because once again, you can react to the battlefield. You can change things up because you can dismiss it as no action. So if you're an archer and then all of a sudden you got to go heal people, you can dismiss it and use your wild shape again to become the healer, and now you're healing people. So you can be incredibly effective in many, many different ways. And if I'm kind of a little envious of how much is going on so early. Like druids already have so much facility and so many options, and this just gives you that many more.
It is nice though. The one thing that you will run into when you're playing druid is everything's concentration. So getting this bonus action that is not a spell as an archer to be able to do some extra damage is really nice because, well, you may have summoned something, you may be concentrating on something, but now you can also do this thing that is not a spell effect either, because you don't have a lot of selection. That's why having guiding bolts is also really fantastic for druid, not a concentration spell, and druids are all about concentration, so it's very helpful. Cosmic Omen, tell me about this.
So whenever you finish a long rest, you can consult your tiny little star map for omens. When you do so, roll a dice. Until you finish your long rest, you gain access to a special reaction based on whether you rolled an even or an odd number on the dice. So this is the spell This is the wheel or woe spell, which I find very evocative. So wheel, which is even numbers, whenever a creature you can see within 30 feet of you is about to make an attack roll, a saving throw, or an ability check, you can use your reaction to roll a d6 and add the number rolled to the total. So powerful bless once on your reaction. Or woe, odd, whenever a creature you see within 30 feet of you is about to make an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check, you can use your reaction to roll a d6 and subtract the number from the roll total. So Bane, one creature, super powerful. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get it all back when you finish a long rest. So you just store this up, and well, I've got some pretty powerful. This is the Bane or Bless. This is the bardic reaction, cutting words. This is that ability as a reaction to affect what's happening on the battlefield and prevent something from happening, or help people prevent something from happening. Yeah, both of these druids in Tasha's are someone wanted to be a druid cleric, and I respect him for it.
Yeah, and this is I mean, I really enjoy that it is a little random. Like, you are controlling the fates of people, but you kind of wake up every day and you're like, okay, well, what kind of day is it going to be for who? Like, are great things going to happen for them or bad things? I like the randomness of it, that you are, even though you are kind of controlling the fates a little bit by reading the stars, you don't control those stars themselves completely. So it's interesting. It's a hard thing to plan for, but I expect if you are going against a really terrible enemy, either way, this is great for your friends. But yeah, it's nice that you don't control it. I kind of like that.
And it's because it is both for attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. It's working with enough things that I think the randomness doesn't
it doesn't hinder. No,
it doesn't hinder you enough, and it works out of combat. This is kind of the first non-combat power, because this is something you can do on your reaction, and especially for saving throws and ability checks. If you're in a social encounter, if you're sneaking, if that is things that you can do to affect role playing, not just battlefield tactics. So yeah, you're gonna have to do the random roll at the beginning of the day, but it's enough options that I don't think it really hinders you at all.
Agreed. And so that brings us to something that's a little bit that like juices up the Star Druid a little bit more. Twinkling Constellations. So you get this at 10th level. The constellations of your Starry Form improve. 1d8 of the archer becomes 2d8. While the dragon is active, you now have a flying speed of 20 feet and can hover. Moreover, at the start of each of your turns while you are in the Starry Form, you can change which constellation glimmers on your body, which is really effective.
Oh, yeah, that's super powerful.
And yeah, and again, this also affects your chalice. So you're doing extra damage as the archer, and you're doing more healing with the chalice as well. So that's great. It just kind of builds on the Twinkling Constellation. I'd be very hard pressed not to take the dragon a lot, but I like the option of now you can switch it up.
Well, and you can switch it up at the start of your turn without losing anything. So really, you can be super reactive and switch back and forth depending on what's going on. I would say if you're in your dragon form and flying, you probably want to be a little cautious. But otherwise, like I think there's no bad things about this. It's amazing. Oh, and he's thinking really hard about flying. And then so I'll just move on to the full of stars, because my God, it's full of stars. So 14th level, while you're in your Starry Form, you become partially incorporeal, giving you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Because, druids, they're so easy to kill.
Yeah. Now you're super tough. It's unusual, but you are kind of like a very tanky druid now.
I don't know. Like, I think this is awesome and fun. I think this is, in my opinion, the one thing that feels a little weird, because I don't think as this druid you're necessarly being
I don't know that you're in it.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're in the battle. I'm not going to say no to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're now suddenly at 14th level, you're a tank.
I mean, It also helps with those saving throws. I mean, if for some reason you still aren't automatically succeeding on all your Constitution saving throws, having resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage is going to help a lot when, once again, the smart enemies are starting to target you so that you stop concentrating on your moonbeam.
Right.
But, like,
it does make sense in the idea that you are almost made of starlight yourself, and you have permanently become incorporeal, and I do like that as a capstone. I like the feeling of it. Does it work with the rest of the abilities? Well, I'd have to play it, but yeah, it's gonna save you. It's gonna make you tough.
absolutely.
And that, I don't know how many enemies want to fight a druid that's made of stars.
I mean, at 14th level, there's not many enemies who want to fight a druid, period. It's it's an interesting idea simply because while druids can be super tanky, especially if they wild shape into some creature that's super tanky, this feels a little bit more like it's just a bonus, especially 14th level. But yeah, it's going to come in handy if you're in your dragon form and flying around and you're close to death. And you don't want to fall if you're making those saving throws.
That's fair. I mean, falling is kind of bludgeoning damage. I can make a strong argument.
Falling sucks.
You might just crater.
Yeah.
Like a meteorite. You're a meteorite.
And that's why this druid needs fireball. You can come in like a wrecking ball. So yeah, I agree that flavor wise, it's cool and it's super powerful. I don't know if it stacks up as well with some of the other druid abilities. But once again, it's very awesome. And the fact that it is bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, and it doesn't have to be from non-magical attacks. It is from just bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, which is very useful. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that you can do there. And maybe you are the druid who is up in the front lines, even though you don't have to be.
Right. And now let's move on to some questions.
Questions for the Circle of Stars. We've got Maliniak wants to know, can you scale a guiding bolt if you are casting it without expending a spell slot? I believe the rules on that are no.
That would get pretty nasty. Yeah, this is just like a free guiding bolt at second level, which you would not normally get. And yeah, like obviously guiding bolt's fantastic when you scale it. It is great. But if you're using your proficiency bonus to get it for free, you're not scaling that.
But this is why it's so important that you also get Guiding Bolt as a prepared spell that counts as a druid spell for you. So if you do want to upcast it, it's available there for you for the higher levels of fun. This is more of a utility, especially since you've got some options as the archer to do stuff, to do more attacks as a bonus action. So I think that's just an opportunity to do things when, say, you're either running low on spell slots or it's more about giving advantage to somebody else. If you're being tactical about it and you're like, I'm going to do this and hope that it hits so that the rogue can now have a greater chance of sneak attack, or something else that's going on that you want to give advantage to.
Now, if you really, really want to be very tricky with this, and this is my recommendation, is especially with this particular druid, I would not do this without probably grabbing the meta magic feat, where I can choose 2 different meta magic options from the sorcerer spell, the sorcerer abilities that you might be aware of. I would choose
Twin spell?
I'd be using Twin Spell on Guiding Bolt quite a lot, because that's what I often do when I'm playing a sorcerer, like a Divine Soul sorcerer, is I twin the crap out of Guiding Bolt, because it's super effective that way. So technically you are getting these free Guiding Bolts, and I'd probably do a little bit of a dip, just to do it at least once to split a Guiding Bolt, and then you're like the blaster of blasters, right? Next to, I would say, a Warlock with their Eldritch Blast. But it's an effective combo, especially if you want to give all your friends advantage on everything.
And if you're playing the long game, if you are really playing a backline, stay out of the melee druid, which a lot of these features allow you to. There's a couple where you got to be within 30 to 60 feet. Guiding Bolt is 120 feet. You can be, and so if you're flying as the dragon form and casting Guiding Bolt, it can be super effective.
Yeah, you're a bit of a nightmare then. It's super scary.
Yeah.
What's the next question?
Speaking of feats, Slip One Shot wants to know what would be some good feats for Circle of Stars. And yeah, meta magic would be awesome, obviously. Um, I think any of the I'm always a fan if you're a blaster, if you're going to focus on the blasting, to go for some of the elemental adept options, especially if you're going to focus on a specific element, which a lot of druids do. I think the circle of wildfire, that's probably required in my
Yeah, that's
opinion.
required. This is pretty heavily radiant, but yeah, I mean, druids are. It's always good to get that feat for any druid.
Yeah, that's really good. I don't know. What other feats do you think would be good?
I think there are feats that are thematic, like the feat Liam O'Brien has in Critical Role, where he always knows what time it is, no matter where he is. Or like something like the Observant feat, or
Observant
the
is good for everybody. Yeah.
alertness is always great for druids as well. I actually really highly recommend alertness for almost all druids, because if people rush in and the druid doesn't get a chance to do its AoEs, which they often have, the druid is sometimes just left there sitting, wondering what they can do next. So
Yeah.
alertness is good for a druid. I think alertness is good for anyone who is going to be a blaster, who's going to be doing AoE damage right at the top of the right out of the gate, like tidal wave, stuff like that. It's good to get that out first, right?
Absolutely.
Not while your friends are in the way. So
yeah, because no matter how many times you say, "Hey, I'm going to tidal wave," don't rush in. Someone always rushes in.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need a build for that.
Yeah. I would also suggest from Tasha's Fey Touched, depending on which way you want to go. Misty Step is a pretty nice way to move around the battlefield, and as we've talked about, this is a druid that's probably staying a bit out of the melee in general, but being able to quickly move is really good. And then you get the divination or enchantment spell of your choice, which is a type of magic that druids don't always have access to. And I think divination magic is really interesting to get into because of the power that you have with the cosmic omen. I think that pairs up really nicely of like, I'm reading the stars, I'm reading the constellations, I am predicting the future. And so now I'm going to dive into some more of that divination magic to be able to do that more often. So that could be a lot of fun as well.
This can also be very interesting if you took shadow touched. You're touched by the Shadowfell, and you have the ability not only to go invisible, which makes a lot of sense since you can manipulate starlight to a degree, but on top of that, you can choose another illusion spell, and I believe is it a necromancy spell as well. But I know you can choose another one. So using something like Disguise Self makes sense, and these are two abilities you would not typically be grabbing onto as a druid. So both, and plus that notion that you're in the Shadowfell, the darkest of dark places, and you're the druid that is hyper focused on the stars themselves. Particularly in Ravenloft, I can imagine someone really wants to know, wants to divine the future, or perhaps a way out of that situation, and starlight becomes so important to everyone.
Yeah, or starlight is how you are bringing light to those places, to the Shadowfell,
exactly.
to Barovia.
And those constellations will mean more, because those constellations in Dread domains historically in other books may change from domain to domain to reflect that domain. So that becomes very interesting and very tied into who is in charge of that particular section of Ravenloft. Sorry, well, I'm on tangent. We got more questions?
That's what this is all about. This is all about tangents, because we're supposed to be giving people ideas for characters to build. So so go ahead and let us know if you build one of those Shadowfell Fey touched Magic Initiative druids who's just blasting everything in Barovia. We have a question from Archangel. Would the fly speed of the Twinkling Dragon stack with the fly speed of an Aarakocra? No. So the fly speed doesn't stack, but if you're an Aarakocra, you get a fly speed of 50, while the dragon, I I know it's less. I just don't remember. I'm scrolling real quick to find out.
I believe it was 20 feet.
Yeah, I think it was 20. That's usually what it is.
Yeah, that's not that, yeah, so that's not gonna there's not gonna be any synergy there. Sometimes they do have abilities that say if you already can fly, that you can, but this
But
becomes a little zippy around the battlefield.
yeah, and I think the key for me with the dragon ability with this is being able to have that set constitution saving throw, or an intelligence or wisdom saving check. So
Yeah.
the fact that it buffers that and it gives you reliable talent for those, I think those are the main draws for me. The fly speed is fun and evocative and can be very useful. And then I think if you are a flying creature like winged tiefling and Aarakocra, something like that, that just helps mitigate the, oh, whoops, I'm not a dragon constellation anymore. But no, most of the time those flying speeds don't stack.
Yeah.
And we also,
I do again like the dragon quite a bit as if we want to play that intelligent druid, this is how you do it. I mean, this is very powerful. You get to be the smartest druid. You are an astronomer. It's really fantastic.
yeah, absolutely.
Next question.
We've got compared to other subclasses, which would Circle of Stars be considered more support or damage? Which is always an interesting question for druids because they are so flexible that
Yeah.
it's really going to depend on the situation. I think
you're kind of given this option right off the bat when you choose archer, chalice, or dragon. This is a very flexible subclass.
Yeah, I think druids in general are there's support in damage. I think because of the AoEs, because of the fact that you have these options that are not necessarily direct support, and yeah, you've got a little bit of healing in this, but I think Circle of Stars, a lot of what it's buffing is your damage potential. It's giving you Guiding Bolt, which does both, but Guiding Bolt is super powerful. It's allowing you to do a bonus action attack. It's making you more tanky. It's making you harder to lose your concentration for things like that. My gut would be to play this as the damage dealer more than a support, but so much of what druids do anyway rides that line of I'm going to do damage that also helps my friends. So if you're thinking of support more as I'm actually casting bless, I am healing, I am removing status effects, I'm doing things like that. There's a little less of that here. And this is a little more of I'm going to do damage on both of my rounds, on all of my actions, but one of those damages is going to be Guiding Bolt, which is going to give you advantage. So I would lean into the damage dealing, and the other stuff will come, but you get to pick at the beginning of your turn what you want to do, so it's not like you're stuck in something. I mean, this is why druids are so hard to play, right? Is because they have so many options, even without a subclass.
Right. Any more questions left? We probably have time for one more.
I don't have one more question from chat, but I have a question for you. So you get to make this star map. This is once again like the wildfire druid. You get this tiny object that's your spellcasting focus. It's a little star map, but you get to pick what it looks like. Todd, what does yours look like?
Probably whatever they used in the Rise of the Skywalker, where it's just randomly, hysterically as a map to show you exactly where the throne room of the Emperor is. If you stand on the right hill, I always like those things like in Goonies and stuff like that. Of maybe this piece of rock that you've drilled holes in over time, that when you hold it up to the sky, it tells you things. Either that or a sunstone. Not unlike what the Vikings used to determine like where the sun actually was in the sky, so that they could actually navigate. So it'd probably be something along those lines.
I was going similar. I was going with a chunk of meteorite, though. I was going with
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, something that actually sparkles like stars and then has those constellations in the sparkles on them, or like a geode or something that just naturally is has the star patterns and the sparkles and is something, a nice chunk that fell from the sky that you can say is actual star stuff.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a very good example. All right. This was Bill's character. Thank you so much, Lauren Urban, our community manager at D&D Beyond. I am Todd Kenreck, your host. I am the creative manager over at D&D Beyond. These are two excellent subclasses. They're both in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. We also got to see a little bit of an adjustment on the Circle of Spores, making it, I feel, a little bit more effective for everyone who wants that, either that mossy druid or that mushroom druid. You can check out Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. There is a link in chat. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is available now on D&D Beyond. Purchase before January 5th to unlock the Cauldron dice set, as well as character sheet backdrops, themes and frames.